Hello and welcome back. Before we get to part 2, Real Talk, please allow us to fulfill our capitalistic duty and plug our Patreon, the Contrarian Supplements.
That's right. For a small fee, you too can help the Contrarians rage on.
We have tiers ranging from just $1 to $10. It all depends on how much content you can handle.
Starting at $1, it's the Travolta's tier, which gets you access to new bonus episodes focusing on a new movie every month, as well as access to the patron chat. Join other patrons in making fun of our opinions.
Moving up to $3 is the Winoni's tier, which unlocks access to our pre-recording notes, our video reviews, and our spin-off show, Contrarians After Hours.
That's a more laid-back space where we talk about other things we've been watching, reading, playing, thinking about. Sometimes it's related to the movies being covered in the main feed, but it usually isn't.
If you want to be part of those patrons who help us shape the show by telling us which movies to tackle, that's when you sign up for the $5 tier, the Embries, and the $10, the Gads.
Finally, all supplement subscribers, regardless of the tier, get access to our archive of special patron projects. Head over to patreon.com/contrarianprime now to join.
Be sure to listen through the end of the episode to find out what's coming up to the Contrarian Supplements this month. Now, it's time for some Real Talk.
When someone mentions bad dream to you, who do you think of? Who has the face that launched 1,000 nightmares? Freddy, that's who! And now he's back, but this time he's on the NES. Ugh! Just like on the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, Freddy is ready to give you the fright of your life. The object of the game is to search through the buildings on Elm Street, look for Freddy's bones, collect them, and burn them in the high school furnace. There's a great effect that happens when your player falls asleep. You become a dream warrior and get stronger powers to battle the most feared horror legend of all time, Freddy Krueger!
All right, well, Freddy's dead, so he's not going to mind if we take a few minutes here before we get into the movie. I told this story over on our Patreon about my recent travels, my 1 week, 3 cities, 3,000 miles, epic trip I had to see the 2 concerts of Oasis, one in Toronto and one in Chicago. So if you're not a patron already, in addition to telling us what movies to cover, you can hear me talk about that trip, amongst many, many other things. Anyway, one thing I told him there that I wanted to bring up on air here in case he was listening is that following the show in Chicago, my sister and I went to the Billy Goat Tavern. Chibaga. Julio, drop a clip in here from Saturday Night Live.
Cheeseburger, 4 Pepsi, 2 cheap. Cheeseburger, 2 Pepsi, 1 cheap.
And to get a cheeseburger, and whilst in line, a young man approached me and asked if I was Alex, and then proceeded to explain, he asked if my name was Alex, and then proceeded to explain that he was familiar with my work from the Late Night Grin, and that he had also listened to the Contrarians, and he name-dropped you, Julio. He said that we have a good dynamic, and he enjoys our stuff. So that was humbling, and also really weird, like how it works, because sometimes I feel like we're just doing this to pop ourselves, which in some ways we are, but also the fact that it has any reach at all is, like I said, it's a humbling and also strange. I told the story when we were in Vegas, me and Joe, the gentleman approached us from Saudi Arabia that complimented us, and as we were up the escalator after talking to him, Joe turned to me and just goes, "Bit weird, isn't it?" I was like, "Yeah, it is." So, Brandon, if you're listening, we appreciate your giving us a listen, and that you enjoy our show, and so much so that you approached me to tell me that. It's a cool thing. My sister was not too pleased by this development. Just of
it's my favorite part of this story.
Yeah, she was worried we weren't going to be able to get out of the restaurant because my ego had grown so big. So,
Alex, that's one of the coolest things, podcast related, that's happened. I just love the idea of somebody that listens to this show recognizing you.
And it was like 1:30 in the morning. Like, so it was just, it was about as random as you could, a situation as you could concoct.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, Brandon. Like Alex said, thank you for listening. Even if you only listened to one episode, that's amazing that you felt the need to go and tell somebody that you enjoy their work. That's always great. Like, I always heard of stories of podcasters getting recognized in the wild, and you know how I don't think I've ever heard anybody complain about it, but it always felt like something that was very not like our world, and to hear that's happened to you twice really fills me with joy. But not to take away the impact of that story, because like I said, it was one of the favorite things my favorite thing that was Contrarians related this month, perhaps this year, Alex, until I got this message from a longtime friend and patron, Sam Hurley, he of Movie Reviews in 20 Qs and our Howard the Duck episode, one of our classics.
That's like a benchmark episode, man.
Yeah. The preconceptions were blown away.
It took like our whole gimmick to a different level of like not just Rotten Tomatoes, but like a movie that has the legacy of being one of the worst ever made. We're like, okay, well, hold on.
I will champion this movie now. Well, Sam, we've mentioned it before. He has 2 kids now. When we recorded that Our Duck episode, I want to say he was still not a father, and then, or if he was, he only had the 1, and now he has 2. So Sam is elusive. It was already pretty special that he reached out and messaged me, and I'm just going to read you this, Alex. I got it while I was at work, and it really made my day. It says, "Hey Julio, forgot to tell you that you've gone popular in our kids' nighttime routine. We put our daughter down with a sleep story podcast, and for some reason, after it finishes, it starts playing you guys. Stacy's walked in to check on the kids and found them sleeping, but also listening to you guys. Then yesterday in the car, our daughter goes, 'Hey Dad, did you know that Hulk Hogan has passed?'
Oh my God.
I was like, huh? She likes Hulk Hogan because we watch old videos of him and used to listen to the song 'Remember When Hulk Hogan Slammed Andre the Giant' by Wolf Is Just Fine a lot. So we were like, how did you know that? And she was like, the man on the phone told me after my sleep story."
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So I trust that Sam and Stacy are responsible parents. And so whatever Contrarians content is making it to their kids' nightly routine is like, our lighter episodes.
Yes.
But
I assume that would have been the Rocky 3 episode then.
Yes. Yeah. So it was pretty recent. But I guess that maybe they're paying more attention than Sam and Stacey thought. Especially his 6-year-old, Fern. So Fern, if you're listening to this, well, for one, this is a Freddy's Dead episode, so you probably shouldn't. But I did tell Sam that I would tell him exactly when we're giving you a little shout out. So maybe, you don't have to listen to us talk about Nightmare on Elm Street, but you can listen to this part where both Alex and I tell you that we are very flattered that we are.
Yeah, that's tremendous.
Yes. Just the idea that there's Fern in New Zealand listening to Contrarians kind of by accident, and then that she gets to share our conversation about Hulk Hogan and Rocky 3.
Wild.
It pass it along to her dad. It's awesome. So Fern, there's a lot of good Contrarians content out there that you'll have more access to once you get a little older. But right now, just listen to what your dad says, your dad and your mom. Thank you for listening.
And we're sorry that we had to be the ones to break the news about Terry Bollea to you.
Yes, yeah, there's much like Contrarians content, there's also lots of Hulk Hogan content out there. So, you can still appreciate whatever you like.
To be fair,
about Hulk Hogan.
The content about Hulk Hogan you'll find on our podcast is amongst the tamer things you'll find on the internet.
That's true. Anyway, so thank you, Fern. Thank you, Brandon, for listening. Any of you that have any Contrarians-related stories, please shoot them our way because it's always fun to just blast them out here. Pat ourselves on the back a little bit, just to give ourselves some energy before we delve into movies such as Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, which is what we're about to do, Alex. No more stalling.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little soul, too.
That's like a really good late season Simpsons joke about Uter, the foreign exchange student. He gets lost or killed or something on a field trip. And there's an episode a little bit further down the line where his parents are talking to Principal Skinner, and I can't remember what he says, but the dad just goes, "Quit stalling. Where is Uta?" So anytime I hear the expression "quit stalling," I like everything in life, Julio, there's a Simpsons reference that is attached to it. And that I can segue because there's one of the couch gags. Don't know if it was for a Treehouse of Horror, but there was a couch gag where it showed Freddy Krueger and Jason sitting on the couch, and Freddy turns to Jason and is like, "Where are they?" Like, they're waiting there to kill him. And so,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if there were any Simpsons fans among critics contributing to this tomato meter score, but there are some fresh tomatoes. So here's my proposal, Alex. I'll give you some fresh quotes, then I'll give you Stu's Letterboxd review.
Okay. Bated breath on that one.
And then you give me your thesis. You tell me where Freddy's Dead ranks in the entire Freddy Krueger filmography, which you and you alone in this conversation are privy to, because there's several Nightmare movies I haven't seen yet. So let's build up to that.
Okay.
I'm going to start with Variety staff from Variety, obviously. They say 6th and final edition in the Nightmare on Elm Street feature series delivers enough violence, black humor, and even a final reel in 3D to hit pay dirt with horror-starved audiences.
I mean, they did hit pay dirt. This was a financially successful movie.
Is that why it wasn't the final Nightmare?
It says here it was intended to be the final installment. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a smash, like $10 million budget, $35 million return. So it's not like it was, $100 million or anything, but they took at least 3 years off. And then, to be fair, when they came back, it was certainly a reimagining of sorts with New Nightmare. It wasn't just like, hey, Jason's back.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
The Thorn brought him back. I'll tell you this. Out of all the audiences, I would say that horror audiences are the ones that are least likely to be starved ever. Am I wrong? I feel like there's always a constant output of horror movies.
Especially 80s and 90s, yeah.
Right. So it's not like...
70s also.
So it's not like there were like horror audiences that were just thirsting for anything. Please give me something. And along came Freddy's Dead.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what Variety is on about here. Next, Janet Maslin for the New York Times says, the Elm Street films have always been a cut above the competition, so to speak, with their playfully malevolent dream sequences and their mocking, ever-resourceful villain. A cut above the competition, Alex. Can you objectively assess that statement?
I'm trying to think of... Yeah, there hadn't been... Jason Takes Manhattan was the last Friday the 13th, and the last Halloween prior to this was 5, which was 89. It's so weird in my head of like everything past like 2005 to me is like all within the same time frame, but even like just a separation of 2 years between 89 and 91, much like 99 and 2001, the separation in my head is so much harder to get my like head around. Like it seems like it's such a wide like birth in time. So as weird as that sounds, just a little bit about me. Like if I read something's in 1989, it's in the 80s, and if it's in 1990, it's in the 90s. It's like, whoa, there's a big gap of time between those two. Anyway, this is probably, I would rather watch this than Halloween Part 5. So for a contemporary review, I don't know how much I could argue with that.
It's funny that that's the one that you would pick as an example, because our friend Stu is well known everywhere for being a staunch Halloween 5 defender.
This is true. Okay, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 came out in 1990, and that is not a good movie, but it is an insane movie. So maybe.
All right. Final quote from critics. Richard Harrington from the Washington Post says, "So long, Freddy. It's been good to know you." Oh, were there people? I mean, I don't know how sincere Richard Harrington has been here, but do you think that there were people back in 91 that watched this movie, obviously liked it, and then went home and had a moment where they're like, holy shit, it's over?
Wore like a black band around their arm?
Yeah, well, like you had a moment after Halloween Ends, right? Like you got to that point where you're like, it's over, and it's being such a big part of my life. I mean, granted, that was like went on for longer, right? Here we're talking about just 6 movies, but still, even if you're saying the entire decade of the 80s, right? If you're a hardcore Freddy fan and somehow you're the kind of fan that has liked them all, there has to have been people that were really moved by the ending.
That's insane. They got 6 movies, and I'm thinking about this now. That wasn't even 10 years. Like that's crazy. Yeah, because the Halloween thing would have been 44 years separation between the first and last. Yeah, I get your point, but there's certainly there's got to be. I'm trying to think of the most formative years this could have happened to somebody. 15, maybe the first one comes out when they're 15, and then so the last one drops, or this one drops when they're like 23, 22. Somewhere in that age range, late teens to early 20s. Yeah, I could see getting really attached to it and maybe being like, damn, it's over. Or the excitement of going and being there, for the first showing you can get into. I mean, as far as something that spans kind of that compact of a window, you know where I'm going with this. The Nolan trilogy, the Batman trilogy. We've talked about it. I don't know if we've ever disclosed this detail. We went to the theater like 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? To watch Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for those who are wondering why.
We like that movie, so fuck you.
yeah, exactly. A proper ending. That I did feel that, what we're talking about here, when that was over, it's like, damn, it's over. And yeah, I'm not, fuck you. I don't care what you think. Argue with a wall. The reason for that was the film industry had already almost completely moved over to digital, and that way they could control when the file's unlocked. And like 6 a.m. was the earliest unlocked, and so we're all like, all right, we'll just be here at the movie theater, at 6 a.m. so we can watch it when it unlocks. So anyway, yeah, there's someone out there, much like there's someone who went and saw Carlito's Way and then watched the first UFC pay-per-view. There's someone out there who went to Freddy's Dead on September 13th of 1981, prepared to say goodbye to their, would-be hero, I guess, or their anti-hero. And yeah, because I imagine the coverage at the time from like Fangoria was probably all like, yeah, this is going to be it.
Englund has said he's done with the character.
He's retiring it.
Is it true? You really going to be dead?
Yes, really dead.
This is it.
This is it. This is it.
These
He's
films
gone.
have made $400 million. If this film opening on Friday the 13th does well, there's no way they'll resurrect you?
Well, they can't. First of all, I'm working for somebody else now. I'm doing a TV series on another network.
Kind of a disappointing way. So silly, but I guess that's befitting of what the character become at that point. Of course, he's going to blow up and his head's going to fly at the camera. All right. Do you have any more critical quotes, or is it time to hear what Stu has to say?
I mean, honestly, Stu is a critic. And a critic
Touché.
that I like more than most. So
I view him as a friend, Julio.
That's it. Yeah, I don't label him by his profession. I label him by how I feel in my heart. So, friend of the show, former guest, fellow podcaster Robert Stewart. He watched Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare on July 19th, 2023. Alex, he gave it 2.5 stars. He says, better than parts 4 or 5, that's for sure. At least this movie went full zany in the second act and just let Robert Englund essentially turn in a comedic performance without even bothering with horror or tact. The problem is that it tries to get more horror-y in the third act again, and everything just gets boring. Stu, not a big fan of 3D, apparently.
Yeah, it looks really bad. 4... With 4, I like the story of Rennie Harlan getting it and kind of facing it head on, and, for the success he became. We may not have one of my favorite Christmas movies, The Long Kiss Goodnight, had it not been for Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. If I remember correctly, too, like the closing of that has this awesome, like, wall of souls that are stuck inside of Freddy. It's like this insane practical effects they did where they built like this wall of like, I don't know if it was latex or what the material was, and then they just put like a bunch of fucking stunt people in there, like press up against it like they're trying to escape. It looks really cool. I remember it being fairly boring though, which is a crazy thing to say about these types of movies. And then 5 is really bad, but I have like an indirect line of attachment to it that I have to appreciate. And who's the kid in that movie? I forget his name. It's not Miko Hughes. Miko Hughes is the kid in
New Nightmare.
New Nightmare. Okay. So anyway, Stu, all right. I think he was just kind of not trolling us, but just throwing a random, not great movie at us. So, I mean, anyone you talk to, I think, is immediately going to say Dream Warriors is the king shit. Part 2 is pretty fascinating as a movie.
I almost feel like Dream Warriors is the safe choice. It might be the right choice too.
Yeah, I was about to say sometimes the easy answer is the right one, man.
I mean, I'll take it over the original, but I guess we're talking about, for the most part, people probably set New Nightmare aside when they do the rankings, right? Because it's kind of outside of the mythology, outside of the story.
Yeah, I suppose when you rank them, you would, do the first 6 and then kind of, introduce the others.
I mean, I don't get to play because, or I play handicap because I haven't seen 4 or 5 now. It's not a bit. I really don't like the first one. So
I'm aware.
Yeah, I am not a good representative for what the average person feels when they watch a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I think maybe you are a little closer, even though you are not a Nightmare on Elm Street truther or, a hardcore fan. But you've watched them all. So do you feel that having watched the previous 5 enhances the experience of watching Freddy's Dead?
I don't know about enhances.
What would you call it?
Provides, I don't know, more ground for comparison, or I don't know. It's to go back to my love of the Friday the 13th franchise. I don't know exactly what you gain by watching all of those going into a would-be conclusion, because they're all just fucking different. I guess you could say Robert Englund's the constant here, and they do try to have some characters that are reoccurring, but that doesn't happen here. This feels like, a new beginning or new blood, in that they're just like, yeah, and he'll have a daughter, but she won't know it's his daughter. Oh, and then we'll do it in 3D, and then we're going to kill him.
And then it's over. They'll never see it coming.
And that's it. I think with the successes of something like Dream Warriors, it really, if you've seen that, and the first one, which again, I would say Dream Warriors is comfortably better than the original. I might even prefer 2 over the original as well.
There you go. Now we're getting into it, Alex. Join the dark side.
But what I'm just trying to say is those 3 movies are night and day from 4, 5, and 6 here. And so I would say, if you had just seen the first one and then go to see this, just as a lark, you might not have the worst time. But if you watch them all sequentially and you've been on the fucking skid, the downhill skid with 4 or 5, and you get here, you're like, let's just end this, please.
Okay, but then the counter argument is, if you watch the first one and then you watch this one, is what happened to wasn't it a horror movie?
Why is he a goofball?
Yeah.
You just watched the first one and then you go watch this, and welcome to prime time, bitch. It's the screen. Wait, what?
Well, that's the other thing, right? I said in Contreras Corner, and it was true. I mean, one of the talking points that always come up whenever we talk about Nightmare on Elm Street is just the idea of, you have created this character, this monster. He's a pedophile. He's a child murderer. It's part of the franchise in a way that you can't really take it off. You can choose to maybe not mention it in some instances, but we all know, I think that 90% or more of the people that watch a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, they know Freddy's past, and they can choose to just ignore it for the sake of having a good time with the movie, right? But you know that's the creation, and even a movie that's as silly as this one acknowledges it, and in fact kind of doubles down on telling you, this is what he was. So I think that is generally they like that recipe shouldn't work. And I think that for the most part, in most instances, doesn't work. One of the reasons, and again, this is not me trolling, and you can listen to the episode if you want to like truly like get all my thoughts. But one of the reasons I don't hate that remake is because I appreciate that they really went with the grimness of the concept. Right? If you're telling me the story about this supernatural monster that haunts you in your dreams, in your nightmares, and he was as a person, he was a really fucked up individual, then I am okay with you exploring like, okay, let's tell the story in a dark way. So there's a consistency there. The other side of the experience is watching something like this, where you have the flashbacks to like the really horrible stuff. And even if you don't see it, it's not super graphic, but I think that the implications are enough to really rattle you. But it's, you're alternated with scenes where it's just Freddy with the catchphrases and the silly dad jokes and all that stuff.
No screaming while the bus is in motion.
Yeah, if you take like a moment to start like processing what's happening in this movie, you're like, Jesus.
Okay, but this is your second time watching it, Alex. So knowing that was happening, like, how was your experience? What, like, trying to put these two halves together? My guess is like the first time, yes, it's like you're saying, like there's almost no time to process it, and then it's over because it's only 90 minutes. But on rewatch, is it better or worse? Like, were you going in knowing like I know exactly what I'm getting into because I know this franchise, I've watched all the movies, and I know that there is at the core there is a pedophile child murderer. But it's also, there's all the silliness. Does it get easy to watch it? To just kind of come to terms like with the fact that that's what this is. That's what these movies are.
I think that's the whole thing with this franchise that is always fascinating to talk to people about, people who love it, reconciling what the actual premise of it is, because people love like the quote along and stuff, and they love how crazy Freddy is and the crazy kills and whatnot, and just the whole the song. It has a fucking jingle, and it's not often people talk about how morbid the psychology of the film is.
I mean, like, forget Freddy, Tracy, right? That's the Kung Fu girl.
Mm-hmm.
Her backstory,
dude. Yeah, I didn't even bring that up in Contrarian's Corner because there was no way to like really. I think make light of it because what's portrayed of her is not good. It's very real, like the way the setup for her dream where her dad comes back. It's like, man, this is fucking brutal. And it's again, it follows. Now, I'm not saying we have our disagreements of that, but there's some interesting darkness to that movie. But that's like a movie that is very serious in its subject matter and material and whatnot. Again, the way he dies here is he goes, kids, and looks at the camera and then blows up and his head goes flying. So to introduce this incestual sexual abuse angle is like, it makes you go, well, was this necessary? Was it, Julio?
It's a little bit like what I said in Contrarian's Corner. There's a part of me that almost applauds the fact that they decided to just head on bring up the fact that this is a franchise that has sexual abuse embedded in its DNA, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know that is the way to do it, but if nothing else, I'll tip my hat at the craziness. Like, out of all the crazy things that happened in this movie, they decided, you know what, he was a rapist from the first movie, and we've maybe tried to be a little coy about it in the movies that have come since because, we are, but not even that, right? I mean, fuck, his origin story, or when we started learning about his origin story in the third movie, that's when they reveal that when they call him in this movie, they call him the son of 100 men, son of 100 monsters,
a maniacs or some shit.
Yeah, like son of 100 maniacs. So that is a direct reference to the fact that I think it's in the third movie that it's revealed that his mother was raped by 100 maniacs, and that's why he's a monster and so on. So it's not even that the franchise ever like really. I mean, there's other moments in the franchise where it comes up, and I mean, you're right. I think that it's maybe the most fascinating thing about the Nightmare on Elm Street series is that somehow it didn't turn off its audience. People either are not bothered by the two things coexisting in a movie, the really dark, disturbing stuff, and then the fun shenanigans with Freddy, or they just choose to ignore the serious stuff. Watching the movie today, I mean, I was like, I couldn't ignore it, but I was also like liking the remake the way that, you know, most people don't. I was kind of happy to see those elements there because I'm like, that's honestly, I find that more interesting than, you know, Freddy cracking jokes. Do you see a way to make this work? Here's like
this movie, no.
But if you, and this is my transition to like the actual quality of it, like if this movie had a good cast and a better script, can you make it work? The idea of like you have these flashbacks that show you how fucked up this monster is, but you also have a tone of this whimsical tone when it comes to the nightmares and all that stuff. Because the problem is like one of the big problems is that the acting is so bad in this movie. Very,
very. I really like the whole idea of the sequence with Carlos, the deaf kid, and the execution of that is pretty cool. I forgot how like kind of cool it is. That it does make me squirm, the Q-tip in the ear, but like that's good. And I mean that no surprise here. That's why 3 is as good as it is, because you have fucking Larry Fishburne in there, and you have Patricia Arquette, and I mean Heather Langenkamp's in there too. And it's not like she was a terrible actress or anything.
John
Saxon, thank you. Yeah, I think that's kind of imperative to making something like this work. I guess that would be my argument about the Friday the 13th. It's just so outlandish and silly, and the terrible acting is part of what kind of makes it. With these, I'm realizing this in real time as I'm speaking out loud. That's what makes these work for me, is when the acting is good, because the story kind of requires it, because what you're dealing with is a subject matter that I think it requires careful delivery and presentation. Otherwise, you get a movie like this and you're like, dude, we're just joking about all this shit. And there's obviously a place for like his one-liners, and because that's like the character, that's the idea they got, and that's how they're going to deliver it. But yeah, it's for these really to work for me. Like I said, I'm talking 1, 2, 3. 2 is obviously a very fascinating movie, kind of beyond just, you know, what you're looking at. And we've talked about it before, you know, it's a celebrated piece of queer cinema. And I remember the first time I watched that, I think was also in my marathon, and I was like just kind of spellbound by it. But yeah, once it just becomes the Freddy show and there's really no supporting players to back up what's going on, it just falls apart for me. And this, I guess you have the novelty of seeing Breckenmeyer, but everyone else is bad, especially the John Doe, who,
dude,
for the first like 30 minutes of the movie, we led to believe is the main character.
I was so relieved when we got the switcheroo. We're like, oh, not only is he not Freddy's son, he's also out of the movie. That's it.
It also, like, this one, especially with the hindsight of time, feels just so cheap with like the litany of cameos. Obviously, it dates it, the Roseanne and Tom Arnold cameo. I mean, I can't not laugh when Tom Arnold stumbles into frame, but you got that, like I said, Alice Cooper, and even the Johnny Depp thing here. It feels like the movie was not well vetted or not well thought out, and they were just basically trying to find corks or thumbs to plug the holes in it, you know?
I wonder if there's just some connection that we're missing. Obviously, the Johnny Depp thing makes sense just because he was in the first one.
Yeah, and this is your first time seeing it. Isn't it so disappointing that's how they got him to do something for the movie? Yeah. I'm not saying he was going to have like a full role in anything, but he could have been a doctor at the institution. Just been like, hey, I found this pipe bomb. But, you know, it's so deflating.
He could also be part of the dream sequence. I mean, this movie, I understand the logistics of truly connecting it to the first movie, or even the first one, the third one, you know, in a way that makes more sense as an ending. I was like, can you get John Saxon, Heather Langenkamp, Patricia Arquette, anybody, can you make it to where this really, you're trying to treat it as a final chapter, so you really kind of bring whatever. And yeah, Johnny Depp's character died, but you can bring him in a nightmare, and something, instead of just this sort of weird infomercial where he's playing a different character. That's just a wink. That's just you telling fans, hey, remember, right? But even that, I mean, I'll take that over what I'm assuming is just nonsense cameos from Roseanne and Tom Arnold. And I mean, I don't know, is Alice Cooper like a big Nightmare on Elm Street fan, and that was the joke?
I don't know, because he did the song for Jason Lives. He's the man behind the mask. Hey, Alice Cooper, do you have any real knowledge or familiarity with him? I
mean, as a pop culture
performer,
figure.
Yeah. Like, I guess the question I'm asking, like, his shows back in the day, and like, were horror filled, and decapitations, and he had like he would do shit like that, have big fucking Frankensteins on stage and stuff. So
okay, no, I didn't know that.
Oh, okay, yes.
But that makes a little bit of sense.
Exactly. Yeah, he's kind of regarded as like a horror rocker or something like that. There's probably a term for it I'm blanking on. But yeah, he has like a reputation for kind of portraying a horror character and the trappings of horror and the visuals of horror. So yeah, the attachment to Friday the 13th and then here it's like a natural fit, but at the same time, it's kind of built to this big moment in this movie where you learn like it's like Freddy's upbringing and his dad or his stepdad. It's like Alice Cooper, and I'm not saying like it. I'm telling you who it could be, but it feels really cheap.
If that had been the Johnny Depp cameo, with prosthetics looking older.
Oh my God! Yeah, now we're cooking, baby.
Okay, well, so that explains Alice Cooper. Explain Tom Arnold and Roseanne to me. Is it literally just that they were well-known figures in the 90s?
Well, yeah. I mean, Roseanne was a really popular television show.
Right, but it's a sitcom.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't even get somebody, it's not like you have a horror show and then you got that person, right? I don't know. It's just so weird.
That's what I mean by cheap. Like, it just feels like lowest common denominator, or just the idea of like, hey, what would make the audience go, hey, I know those people? And then Tom Arnold came out like, who the hell's that guy?
It's Roseanne's husband.
Yeah. I mean, I can't offer you an explanation. It just feels like they were able to procure some kind of the moment people in pop culture so they could throw it into the movie.
It's just weird because it's the
like there's people that would watch this now, like kids younger than us, right? That would have no idea who they are.
Would you? But you should. No, I guess you can't even tell. Like the way it's shot. If you don't know who they are, do you understand at least that they're supposed to be someone?
No. Maybe, hilariously, maybe Tom Arnold. Because Roseanne just appears and she's like, my babies. And then Tom Arnold just like, well, hold on, here I come. Someone needs to cut this with like the live studio audience when Tom Arnold comes in, the woo, and like the clapping and stuff.
Pause. And then he delivers his line.
Yeah, he tries to start. He's like, honey.
All right. Well, it's a perplexing choice for a movie that's supposed to be the ending, because I would, why would you do something so distracting? But then again, I guess the entire story is kind of weird, and I just don't know I guess once you decide that your movie is going to be about Freddy having a child.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It hasn't come up. I'm assuming it doesn't come up in the fourth and fifth movies, right? Isn't the fourth one? Okay, Dream Child. That's somebody getting impregnated by Freddy while they're in a dream?
It's something like that.
Because when this was talking about like his child at first, I thought that was like, oh man, I'm in trouble because I haven't watched the previous two movies, so I'm gonna get lost in the stories, the actual plot of Freddy having a kid. And then once it became clear that, this has nothing to do with that, this is just something else that happened, I guess, when he was alive. And I was like, all right, I guess it's weird because it's just disconnected from everything else. But then it also kind of tries to be a standalone movie, but it also has like all these ties to the past that are almost inconsequential. it's not. I mean, it's not a good script. It's not. It doesn't have a strong cast, and the best thing I can say about it is that Rachel Talalay has some cool stuff that she does, like especially the scene with Carlos, like his nightmare, and then
I mean the visuals of like the opening with like the Wizard of Oz type effect and stuff, it looks cool.
Yeah, and as far as even the 3D stuff, I think that it embraces the silliness of it in a
Agreed.
way that, it's like, okay, what were you gonna do? Once you make the decision that it's gonna be in 3D, the climax is gonna be in 3D, then yeah, sure, have fun with it, and have all this shit coming at us. That's fine, but that's it. I feel like even if I was one of those people that really liked the first movie, maybe even made it all the way to the third one, I would have tapped out before this one.
It made more money than 5. It made $10 million more than 5 did. So like the gimmick of it being the last one obviously worked.
Yeah, I guess so. Were they charging more for 3D back then?
I don't know, but that's a good question. $7.
I'm going to say no because it wasn't optional. Like today, you pay
Good
more
call.
for 3D, but you can also choose not to do it. And also, obviously, the technology is better now, so they can maybe justify it better.
And get inside his brain.
So going back real quick to part 5, I was trying to remember. It's not that Freddy impregnates anybody. It's that this gal is pregnant whom he's like haunting her dreams, and like through that takes over kind of the fetus and like takes over its dreams. So that's kind of, it works out in a way like that.
Less twisted, but still pretty fucking weird.
Agreed.
Well, I am curious about the people that are serviced by this franchise in a way that is satisfying. It sounds so sexual, but you know what I mean? Like, if you watch this and you're like, this was a cool movie, like I can watch and maybe laugh at it. That was mostly what I was doing when I was watching it tonight. Like, it didn't make me angry.
No, it's so low stakes and like it's just natural, man. I'm going to bring up the Friday the 13th, like the original final installment, the final chapter, part 4. That's like the closest to a good movie that's in that entire franchise. And it really seemed like they put a good foot forward in making that what they thought was going to be the final one. And in here, it's just kind of like rinse and repeat. Like, let's find what worked and then maybe find something new to introduce that's not really going to make any sense, but it'll make people go ooh and ah. It feels so uninspired. At the same time, it's an hour and 25 minutes. And we've talked about some positives as far as like visuals and like at least one entire sequence we were both complimentary of. And yeah, low stakes. And it sounds so patronizing when we talk about these movies sometimes like this, but what do you expect? There's no real level of like expectation or anything, like I'm trying to think of, there's some like heavy hitters out there that you and I have like lambasted. Like, I do not dislike this movie anywhere near as much as I dislike $1 Million Baby, which some people would hear and be like, find that just repugnant as a statement. But it's the truth, because I can tell you, like, no one's out there telling me how great Freddy's Dead is. Whereas, I've lived a lifetime, it seems, of people talking about how fucking great $1 Million Baby is. I don't know if any of that is in line with what you're thinking, just of like why this movie, I don't find it offensively bad or anything. I just think it's a dumb movie that is, if I had my choice, I wouldn't watch again.
I'll say this is my time to disassociate myself from you and your opinions. I don't think $1 Million Baby is great, but it's better than Freddy's Dead.
I guess, technically, yeah. But I dislike it more than I dislike this.
Clint Eastwood would just... I can't even imagine. Yeah.
No, I didn't say this is better. I said I dislike one more than the other.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's funny, Alex, because this is a little bit of how I felt about the Friday 13th remake. Speaking of Stu, where I was just like telling you guys,
this is
like,
better than that.
What?
This is better than that,
dude. Even just like the cast alone in the Friday 13th remake, you have Was it Travis Von Winkle? Is that his name?
Hoyt Ambrose? Yeah.
Hoyt Ambrose. Yeah. Just on the very basic level, that's stupendous.
Jason with his system of underground tunnels and his fucking bunkers that he has built. Yeah.
It's
really
a dumb
good.
horror movie. This is a dumb horror movie.
I can't win this. Like, literally, I cannot win this argument. Or you can't, because I'm going to keep like moving the goalposts over and over again.
That's why Stu assigned us Freddy's Dead, because he remembers that conversation and he thought maybe, this would force you to face the double standard that you have where when the Friday the 13th remake is a dumb movie, you're like, fuck them. And then
when this is dumb, I'm just like, eh.
It's a dumb movie. What are you expecting? I know. Well, one is your franchise, the other one is just a franchise that you are familiar with because you like horror. And then I am perhaps the luckiest because I don't have an investment in either, so I can just watch them. I'm like, yeah, I won't watch them again, but I can just. I'm not offended by their dumbness. I just think that, kind of like to round it out, I think that on a technical level, this is bad, and I'm talking mainly about the cast and just the way that they tell the story. That's what I was going to say earlier. Okay, so if you decide that your story is going to be about Freddy having a kid and it's not going to have any ties to the previous movies, it's just going to be a standalone thing, then you need to at least craft a story that makes a little more sense. And I know that I can almost visualize people working on the script and saying, like, it doesn't matter because it's all a dream, and so it doesn't have to make sense because it's all dream-like, nightmare-like. But, man, there are a couple times where fucking John Doe, who's not a good actor to begin with, delivers some exposition. No, it's even worse. He doesn't deliver exposition. He just makes some statements that made me wonder, how does he know this, right? Like, he goes from not knowing anything at the beginning of the movie to suddenly he speaks about Freddy like he's an authority on Freddy and he knows everything. And I know that, he was amnesiac at the beginning and then slowly he recovers his memories as they go into the town. But I could have used a little more, craft around the way that you deliver this. Like, I know that the whole point was, like, the characters in this movie, sometimes all they're missing is just like looking at the camera directly and telling you, like, hey, just so you know, Freddy has a kid, like at some point he goes like, I must be his kid because he hasn't killed me. And I was like, you're making some huge leaps. Like, he's talking like he really understands Freddy's mind. And
he's talking like he took Freddy 101.
That was honestly, I had high hopes for that set. Because once the guy said Freddy 101, I was like, oh shit, are we going to get the Mr. DNA sequence from Jurassic Park? We're going to get a lecture on the Freddy history? Because then that was the perfect opportunity for them to explain everything in a fun way. Maybe even put some clips from previous movies and, just really set the movie up for the big finale. But I think they just dropped the ball. So I don't know if you even considered that I could have liked this movie, Alex. I know I texted you saying that this was the second best of the franchise. And of course I was kidding. This is bottom of the barrel for me.
This is quite bad.
Quite bad, but you've seen them all again. So, and don't do the cop out. Like I want you to include the remake and New Nightmare on your ranking. Like where is this?
This would be over the remake. Yeah, this would be over the I don't know. Like 3, 2, 1, I think would be my top 3. Well, shit, man. I do like New Nightmare. It's very ambitious. So the ones I think I would say are good are 1, 2, 3 New Nightmare, and those are the ones that I would find myself in a situation where I would watch them again. 4, maybe if it's on TV or something, I come across it randomly just because I said I'll give Rennie Harlan the respect pop and just be like, all right, let's go. But 5, this, no interest, and the remake is trash. I mean, Freddy versus Jason, obviously, but I don't know if you were including that in the ranking.
Man, I mean, I've seen it. I did. Well, tell me that, Alex. How do you feel having seen all the movies in both franchises? Does it belong in continuity? Should it be canon?
Welcome to my nightmare.
It should, specifically for Freddy's inclusion in it, because it plays off of like everything that's happened up until that point, because the people don't know who he is anymore. Like his name's gone away, and he uses Jason to start killing teenagers in is it Springwood? Is that the name of the town? To remind people of Freddy. And so, yeah, it works way more. But it's I would argue that movie is like a Nightmare on Elm Street with a Jason Voorhees cameo. You know, that's kind of extended cameo. But anyway, this is I prefer this to Jason Goes to Hell, which was the final Friday. So that's I guess the most complimentary thing I can say about it. Yeah. Which, fitting enough, that was the first Freddy would resurface on the big screen. After this is, of course, the ending where his claw comes up and drags Jason's mask down. I've had fun talking about this, which is like starting to cloud my judgment of just not giving this an F. But this is like a 1-star movie. D- being generous. I won't give it an F based on the Carlos sequence, because that I had remembered enjoying when it started going to that. I was like, oh yeah, then it's going to do the thing with like the pins and whatnot. And I guess just through the analytical viewing that we do and the notes taking, I got a lot out of that scene. So that's going to keep it from being an F. But this is quite bad, because also I need to stress this franchise does have good entries. So I can say it sucks compared to the other ones, and that makes it worse.
Yeah, even on the Nightmare on Elm Street scale, I think that this is not good. I agree with you. I'm giving it 1 star as well. I think it's really, really bad. I think it's funny that we made it through almost all of Real Talk and barely talked about Robert Englund, who's the face of the franchise. And I think that is indicative of how little there is to the Freddy character in this movie, at least.
Yeah, he's doing his house show routine here, man. He's just,
like, kudos to him, because obviously he's not phoning it in. At least I don't think he is. But the movie is phoning it in.
He never did with these.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there's just nothing for him to do.
Even when he gets to bear his true face.
The Power Glove thing is insane. I appreciate that reference so much, because the Power Glove is a piece of Nintendo ephemera that I always found endlessly fascinating. So it's a reference like made for me, but the timing of it and everything, it's just like, man, New Line really thought this was going to replace You're Going to Need a Bigger Boat and lead to all sorts of Power Glove endorsements, and Nintendo is going to be all about it. But yeah, 1 star is all around. So even still, Stu didn't do anything like crazy and say it was a good movie, but he still, it appears, likes it a little bit better than we do. But if you've never seen it, if you've never seen any of them, it's in truth a franchise that's quicker to get through than any of the other horror staples, be it Leatherface, Chucky, Jason, Michael Myers. This one's probably the shortest in terms of entries. But let's say you're just trying to hit the high points, you're not going to miss anything by skipping this.
Definitely not. I think you just need to do 1, 2, 3 New Nightmare. You can't, in a perfect world, and I might have said this when we talked about New Nightmare, or maybe when we talked about the original, the remake. And I think in a perfect world, you should be able to sit down and watch New Nightmare without having watched anything else and enjoy it. But the whole point of New Nightmare is that it's constantly referencing those first 3 movies. or rather the first one, the third one. So you need to watch at least the first one, the third one in order to fully enjoy New Nightmare. Number 2, I think that it's kind of a rarity, and that's why it's worth checking out. I don't think it's a good movie. I understand why it's important. I understand, but I think that is kind of something that has happened after the fact. Like it's like there's a lot of stuff outside the movie that has made it important. It has given us a way to appreciate it that goes beyond the actual making of the movie. I have no desire to watch it again because I just found it kind of boring. But the behind the scenes stuff is really interesting, and it's fun to get people riled up saying that the first Nightmare sucks. It doesn't suck. I know it doesn't suck. I just know it doesn't work for me. And there's some things that I just don't like. It doesn't work for me the way it works for the people that love it. And sadly, this is not a bit, it doesn't work as well for me as the remake does. So. But I would put the original above this, for all my teasing. No, I mean, this is bottom of the barrel, and the first Nightmare on Elm Street still, has something. And it's interesting to think of a timeline where they never abandoned that tone, where, we're 6 movies in and they're just grim and miserable. That when you go see a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, yes, there's going to be a lot of visual novelty because of the concept of the dreams and all that stuff, but it's also going to be a punishing experience because it's a sexual predator that's back from the dead and haunting your dreams. I mean, I guess that's kind of like what the remake was, but imagine if they could pull it off.
Yeah.
Like Robert Englund, like what would his career be like? I mean, I'm sure he's happy with the way it all turned out. He's great, but what happens if the character you're associated with is not a clown, and it's really all about the darkness? I don't know. Food for thought.
I think they really wanted to reward the fans, really go out with a bang instead of a whimper. We could probably drag these on forever, but I'm kind of proud of them for sort of putting everything in the last one, like a big finale.
That was it for Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. Stu, thank you for the assignment, for the demand. Coming up next, Alex, there's no movie. There is movies. All the movies that we've covered in this contrarian fiscal year. Freddy's Dead was the final movie of 2025 as far as, when we start and when we end the year before our award ceremony. So coming up next, The Embries, and we will give you the entire list of movies that are qualified to receive awards from us in the next episode before we start the ceremony. If you're a patron, you have already gotten a heads up to submit audio clips or text, anything that you want to throw in to be part of the ceremony. Obviously, by the time that you guys listen to this episode, we've already recorded the Embries. Hopefully, I've already edited it. So if you want to submit anything, you have to be a patron so you can get ahead of the curve. Sorry, I don't make the rules. But speaking of patron, Alex, coming up next on the patron channel, we have a bonus episode that might be out by now. It's on the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, a classic of silent cinema, horror cinema. That's a Ben Murray pick. So, Ben going artsy. I think last time that we did one of his picks was the Halloween Resurrection. So he might be wanting to regain some respectability with this pick.
I love it, though. I love the true yin and yang of that.
As far as video reviews, you are going to be reviewing Mad Max, the first one. I know you would rather rewatch Mad Max Fury Road, but no. Patron John Amenta has said Alex needs to watch the first Mad Max with problematic actor Mel Gibson before he went full MAGA.
I'm confident it will be better than Dragged Across Concrete.
And I think that Gibson is silent most of that movie. So, that's a good thing. And then he gave me the movie The Blob.
Steve McQueen?
I don't know. I just know it's not about the X-Men villain. So I'm a little disappointed to begin with.
Is it the 80s version or the one from the late 50s with Steve McQueen?
I'm going to have to ask John before I watch the wrong movie.
I mean, both have great merit. They're just very, very different. And I own the 1958 on Criterion.
I guess stay tuned. We'll know then. No after hours for this installment because we need the time to do the next chapter on FIRF, Fresh Immigrants, Rotten Fascists. Our last episode was about fascists. So this episode is going to be about immigrants. And we're going to hit the movie Minari, starring Stephen Young. He of Burning, another movie that we've covered on the show.
Solid movie.
And I think, Alex, I don't want to overpromise, but at least as of this recording, we are hoping that we will be dropping our very first Exorcist commentary sometime in October. So it might be out.
Need to get it out at least before Halloween.
Yeah. So maybe not out yet, but out in the coming weeks. Stay tuned. Again, that one's going to be in the main feed, so you get to enjoy it. And that's part of our Lesson for the Cure commitment from earlier this year. All the other stuff on the Patreon channel. So if you want to check it out, patreon.com/contrarianprime. Alex, let's get out of here.
Freddy's Dead.
Credits.
Welcome to our end credits.
Or as we usually call them, our perennial plugs.
We start off by giving thanks to the Festive Years who provide our opening and closing tracks. They kick us off with Last Stand and take us home with Summer of 99. Be sure to head over to thefestiveyears.com for any and all Festive Years needs.
Our friend and fellow podcaster Hans Rothgieser is the man behind our logo and all the art you see related to our show. Reach out to him and let him know how much you like that little tomato. His email address is mildemonios@hotmail.com and his website is mildemonios.pe. That's MILDEMONIOS. Hans, thank you for all your support.
For those interested in the regularly absurd world of professional wrestling, Joe and the boys over at latenightgrin.com have you covered. Tell them the Contrarians sent you.
And we like to close with special thanks to our social media team of Zoe Perez and Corey Ari. Each of the social media accounts we mentioned in the introduction look as good as they do because of their work.
So that'll do it for this episode of The Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong, and we will catch you next time.
Just for old time's sake, I really don't care who you're seeing or how much money